intervention itself, we may have redemption and help. The sixth lesson that we can learn is we must be people of character even when we think no one is watching. Very, very important for us, especially who live individual lives. I'm repeating this again. We must be people of character even when we think that no one is watching us. Dear sisters, what is this character all about? I don't want to speak about character now anymore. All of us know what our character is, or in other words, what our personality is. We have a set of principles. We have a set of rules and regulations by which we have to live. And now, our character is that, somebody says, it is who we really are when no one is watching. What is the meaning of character is? That is what we are when no one is watching. Now, for example, many of us, yesterday as we said, we put on masks. We have plastic smiles. We are all used to fast food. 2 minutes noodles. Right? We are all used to fast food and fast life. And we have no time for one another. We have only time for ourselves because we are busy. Busy with ourselves. And so what are we behind the closed doors is our character. Now, can I be sincere? Can I be honest even when no one is watching? Now, we have some people, they give some charity or something like that when all others are watching. One priest was telling to the people on a Sunday Mass, I don't want to hear noise in the dumb box. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, don't put coins in the dumb box. So just to please the parish priest, people started taking out notes from their pocket and shaking and putting in the dumb box. Yeah, because people are watching. But there are also people who say, Father, please don't mention our name. We are giving this to God and to church or for a good purpose. Don't mention my name. One priest who has helped me recently for this COVID relief work told me, he has given a big amount and he told me, please don't mention my name at all anywhere. A priest. Usually we look for name and fame, right? But we have also people who are not looking for name and fame. We are what we are, even if nobody is noticing us. Even when no one is watching us. Now, many times what happens, that it happens with children in the school or with formies in the formation houses. In the school, what happens? When the teacher is coming into the class, everybody is busy. They start studying. And they look like this. Principal is going well. Okay, right, we are free. Whether we study or not doesn't matter. No? I mean, that is not part of the character. Many times we behave like that. Somebody is watching us, we behave very goody way. Nobody is watching us, I do what I like. Ruth was not asked to do these things by anyone. Ruth was not asked to follow Naomi by anyone. Naomi did not tell, you are now married to my family, you have to follow me. No. Naomi did not force her. But Ruth made a decision. I will follow you wherever you go. Because I believed in a God who you believe. That is the bond that we have. And so I will live my life according to my conviction. According to the rubrics that I believe in. According to principles that I believe in. Many times we will be forced to change our principles. But what are we, even when no one is watching us, is a big question. And that is what is called integrity of character. Are we people of integrity? Are we people of strong character? Is the question that we all have to ask. And the last lesson that we can learn from the book of Ruth is God uses unlikely people for His purpose. God uses unlikely people for His purpose. Dear sisters, just imagine a name of a woman coming in the genealogy of God Himself. In the family history, family tree of a patristic society, a society which only gave importance to men. Israelite society was highly patristic. Right? They only believed in the power of men. Women were second-grade citizens. Even in spite of that, one woman, or few women are there of course, and this woman Ruth finds place in the genealogy. The grandfather of King David himself, Obed, is born from Ruth. Ruth and Boaz. Now sisters, we may think, what is this story? Is it a big story? Yeah, it is a big story for us. Because we are all inheritors of that salvation which came from Jesus and through these family stories. God uses Ruth as a very strong person in the history of salvation. And we know in the genealogy, 14, 14, 14, right? Very few people are there. In the history of some 3,000-4,000 years, we have just, how many people there? Just 42 people mentioned there. And out of these 42 people, this woman finds a place. Just imagine the role of Mary here. We will be speaking about Mary on the last day. But just a kind of a mention about Mary. Who is just Mary? A simple woman, a girl, not even a woman. A young woman from Nazareth who did not have anything at all, nothing great in her. But God chooses her to be the mother of her son, his son. Many times we may think, as I always said in the last 2 days, I am useful for nothing. Many of us have got this kind of attitude. I am nothing. I am useless. But God can turn our uselessness into something useful for Him. What is David in front of Goliath? David was a young boy, a shepherd boy. He didn't have any weapon in his hand. And there stands in front of him Goliath, the huge man with a big sword. And what wonder could God do with such a small boy? Sisters, God's ways are very mysterious. He can make use of any one of us to do great things. Yesterday I shared with you about a priest, my classmate, who became a famous preacher and a member of the provincial council, who was not so much so-called intelligent in the seminary. All intelligent people need not be made use by God, or all so-called fools need not be left out by God. God's ways are mysterious. We may think that we are useless, but for us, for God, we are precious. Each one of us is precious to God. And that is what story of Ruth says. We have some women who are mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus. Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, and Mary. 5 women's names are mentioned. We can think of these 5 women in a big way still. But sisters, the so-called 5 women, these 5 women of 5 different characters. One is a prostitute among them. Rahab is a prostitute. And Bathsheba, who is she? A second wife of somebody. Out of sin they met. Mary, a simple girl from Nazareth. And Ruth, here we have a widow. A widow who was not wanted by the society. And all these people are the people who are elected by God and selected by God. Many times we think that, oh, it's okay, I'm a small person. Yeah. But being a small, God can make us powerful. Only when we open our hearts to God. We can make a huge difference in the society in which we live. We can make a lot of difference for the people whom we meet. Though small, though little. As Mother Teresa says, we need not do great things, but we can do small things with much love. And those things become great things. And I think that's what Ruth did. She has not done big sacrifices anyway. She has just left everything and came with Naomi to the land of Bethlehem. And there her life changes. She becomes part of the salvation history. Dear sisters, this life of Ruth and Naomi, the book of Ruth from the Holy Scriptures, can give us so many insights when we read the book, when we read some famous passages where Ruth spoke and Naomi spoke afterwards, or Boaz spoke afterwards. Very beautiful things to reflect about. Maybe when you get time, spend some time reading this book. It's not a very big book anyway. Very few chapters are there. Read them, reflect it for yourselves, and see how God is inspiring me to start opening my heart to the inspiration of God. How God is asking me to come out of my past and grow bigger, and how God can make use of me, though small I am.